See, we're showing the whole world what a country should be. United we stand in America, hand in hand in America. Together as one in a land that we love. United we stand in America.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to let Lynn Morris and Dr. Mary Byrne and Brad Pistole join you in just a second. We are rebroadcasting this special episode with Brad Pistole because of the important times we're in. After we recorded this and shared this not too long ago, many of us went back and looked at our financial planning and, making sure we have some of those stabilities we need in the changing times we're in. So I just wanted to let you know what important information is here. So many things happening. Talked to Lynn and Dr. Mary over at the Cultural Impact Conference over in Ozark on Saturday. We'll share more about that. There's a post on there. But without further ado, let's get right to changing times.
Is the day that Jan and I were down at our condo in Florida, and I'm at a morning cafe eating breakfast, and I'm reading the USA Today, and there was a article about retirement planning by Brad Pistole. And so I mispronounced your name because I didn't know how to pronounce your name, but I'm reading this to Janet and saying, we're at the age, we're just selling our company, we have got to find a financial planner. Now, God placed you article right there that day when I bought that USA Today, because that's amazing. And then, top that off, how God works, was the very next week when we get back to home in Ozark, Missouri, I'm at a little Sands Cafe on the way between Ozark and Sparta, just a nice little place having breakfast with a friend, and there was three older gentlemen that was sitting next to me, and I heard them talking about Brad Pistole. But you're not supposed to eavesdrop in other people's conversations. But eventually I said, I was not paying attention to my friend, and I said to those three gentlemen, I said, excuse me, I said, are you talking about a Brad Pistole that's a financial planner for retirements? And they go, oh yeah, we all three use him, and he's the best. I said, well, I just saw this article. Oh yeah, he writes articles. So they knew all about him, and so that just reconfirmed the fact that we called you after that, and knew that I didn't know you were right in my backyard. Yeah. And so, but we're glad to be here today. I'm glad to be back. I'm not here all the time because I do have some health issues from a brown recluse spider where I lost my left foot and a little bit of my leg, but we're going to have a new normal and get a new foot and leg this fall. So we'll be back on a regular basis, but from time to time I can't do that. But
it is always more fun when you're here, Lynn. That's
and then Dr. Mary Byrne, she's our sponsor, not sponsor, but co-host. She's our co-host, and we really appreciate her. She's held this show together while I was missing work and missing this show, being sick. I mean, I was really sick, so I'm thankful that I am better and stuff like that. But we're going to go ahead and get started. And I hope you all enjoy the music that we start off with, because that is a gentleman that used to perform in Nashville for about 15 years and with all the people, and used to have his own theater up in the Independence, Missouri area, and he still lives up in that area now today since he moved back from Nashville. But we'll be doing veterans events. He loves to sing for the seniors and the veterans and things like that. And so we're setting him up a pretty good schedule for singing events and stuff like that all over the country. So you'll be watching him, and we'll have him on our show too, where you can learn more about him. But anyway, so Brad Pistole. Yeah. Owner of Trinity Insurance and Financial Services. I mean, honestly,
And faithful sponsor of Changing Times.
I tell you what, faithful sponsor. He was a sponsor of our Jeff and I radio show for 7.5 years. That was called Your Morning Coffee. Your Morning Coffee with your representatives, and we had a great audience. And he was a faithful sponsor, and he's been faithful here. But that's not the things that Brad does the best. Every time Don Blacker and I had something that we were trying to raise money for, we could call Brad and Hunter, his son, and their whole group, and he was always helpful to other people. You're a difference maker. You have been for a long time.
Thank you.
And I love difference makers.
Thank you.
And then Don would always say, being the change.
Yeah.
Now, Mary, she's very smart, so she's going to figure out something that she's going to tell you that you are at some point for our guests, because I think that to call those people those certain things is not everybody gets to be a difference maker. Okay, God helps decide who's the difference maker and who's not. And he certainly has decided that you are one. But let's start out the show by telling the people a little bit about yourself.
Sure.
And what you do for people.
Well, I will say, unless someone reads one of my books, they won't know, but in my first life, I was in full-time ministry.
Yeah.
So I had a background of 17 years in full-time ministry, but I had a father who was 50-plus years in financial planning. He worked for Merrill Lynch the last 18 years of his career until I started my business during the financial crisis of '08. And then my dad went through some major market crashes as a Merrill Lynch advisor, and he found out my own retirement's not protected, and I'm the advisor looking over the accounts. Why don't we have anything that offers safety and protection? And the problem is he was 56 when '01 happened. He was 58 when or 56 and then 63 when '08 happened. 63 is not a good time to lose a lot of money.
No.
And so he jumped ship and came to work for me the last 8 years of his career, and that was a really neat relationship. We were 3 generations, my father, myself, my son. And so Hunter and I now, my father passed 2 years ago, and Hunter and I are both retirement income certified professionals through the American College, and we really focus on 18 different core areas of financial planning: Medicare, Social Security, of course, income, growing your assets, protecting your assets, generating lifetime income streams, dealing with healthcare issues, dealing with reverse mortgages, all things that come into play when it comes to making your money survive the rest of your life. We are retirement income certified professionals, so that's what we do.
And you're a fiduciary.
I'm a certified financial fiduciary.
And that's important because a lot of people don't know what that word means.
Yeah.
But here's what I think it means. I think it means that if you are a certified fiduciary, that means that you have to take the best interest of your client over yourself.
We do.
And I know that you do. I'm not sure everybody does in this country, but I know that you do. And I think that is a protection hedge that people want to make sure that if they're dealing with someone that's dealing with their money, that you need to have that.
Well, for your listeners, just so they know, there is actually an organization called the National Association of Certified Financial Fiduciaries, NACFF. And you can go to that website and look up and see, because that fiduciary term gets thrown around by everybody. Oh, I'm a fiduciary. But the National Association of Certified Financial Fiduciaries, you actually have to take exams and have ongoing training for it, and I'm a part of that group, and I have my designation. So,
well, I tell you, I appreciate everybody I've sent that I've sent to you. You've helped them, helped some of my family members, and will continue to do that. And this is a little bit off script, but I heard you say your books. You know, one of the things, I love to read books. I just gave Mary a book on halftime, so I'm going to make sure you get one too.
Wonderful.
Because this is not about sports. This is about your life divided into 4 quarters, like a sporting event.
Okay.
But God is prepping us at halftime is when we're working on the last half of our life.
Very
and
good.
what are we going to do for other people?
Yeah.
Great book. Well, I actually did a show show on that book. And Dennis brought me that book back and said, well, I remember that book. And so, but you wrote 2 very good books.
I did.
Your very first book you wrote was called Safe Money Matters.
Right.
And it was a best-selling book on Amazon for retirement planning. I probably read that book 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, it just pops up in my office from my piles that I have. And so I just look at it again.
Yeah.
And then
I brought my newer one.
The second book called Bulletproof, I think it's about a year old now, isn't it? Or
It's actually, but time flies, Lynn. It was
2 years?
Late 2021 when Ed and I
Oh
wrote
my
that.
gosh! So
Yeah.
I must be having a lot of fun. Time
I'm
is going
telling
by.
you, it just, I can't believe it.
Well,
how fast
and
it's
so
gone.
Bulletproof, it's another best-selling book on retirement planning. And you know what? The good news is, folks, this guy, if and we'll give you phone numbers and email addresses, but this guy will send you that book free, won't you?
I will.
And so you don't even have to buy the book.
Right.
I think that's an amazing thing. There's valuable information in that book. Well, let's also talk about, you've had a radio program called Safe Money Matters, and it's on, I don't know if it's on is it on other networks other than Southwest Missouri?
It's on KSGF 104.1. It's also
And
on
KWTO.
KWTO 5
Okay.
times a week, Saturdays and Sundays.
Uh-huh.
And then now we have a national podcast.
So
that's where that's what's
where
really changed
people.
lives.
Okay, so folks, this is important. So how do people? Because the show is great. I mean, is that a 30-minute show?
It's an hour long.
An
now.
hour long. I was going to say there's just a bunch of great information about retirement planning. You do all kinds of topics from A to Z. You're going to cover the whole thing. If you listen every week, you're going to learn something every week.
Yes.
That's very, very valuable. Everyone needs to know about retirement planning.
Yes.
And I always tell people, because I'm old, but I always tell people you're just never too young to start. You're never too young to start thinking about retirement planning. And you look at inflation and look at things going on in life today, and it really kind of worries you. So you need to start early and have a great financial planner like you. So your podcast, how do people find out about your podcast?
So that the easiest way, because everyone knows what YouTube is, just go to YouTube, type in Brad Pistole, and that's pistol with an E on the end, and just type in Brad Pistole. It'll pull up hundreds of videos, but you can also type in Brad Pistole Safe Money Radio. And what they'll see, there's a podcast where you can subscribe, and then every time we upload a new show, it'll send you a notification. It's on Apple, it's on Spotify, it's on YouTube. But then if people are visually oriented like I am, what's really changed is instead of just being on radio like this, some people might be hearing us and not seeing. If you go to YouTube, now I have a lot of the time I have national guests on the show. I've had Heather Schreiber, a national Social Security expert, America's IRA expert, Ed Slott, Dr. Alex Margia, Dr. Wade Fowle, all these key people. And they can watch that. If I have a guest on, we have that on YouTube where you can watch the interview like they could watch this. So just go to YouTube, type in Brad Pistole Safe Money Radio, and they can subscribe and get all of our notifications when a new show comes out.
What a great way to promote yourself, but to educate people.
Yes.
To educate people about what you do for people and what sets you apart.
I like that because it's in time slots that I can adjust for my schedule.
Yes.
I don't have to be at the radio at the time you're broadcasting, but I can.
Well, young people, my son was like, Dad, you're on the radio, but think about it.
Yeah.
It's only when someone's in their car can listen to it. If you put it online, they can watch it anytime they want.
Yeah.
Watch it from home, rewind it. So
Exactly.
that's young people. He's the
Oh,
one
yeah.
that does the podcast for us. And so,
Well, I'm not very IT oriented. I always tell myself, and I tell people the truth down at the courthouse, that I'm the IT dummy.
Yeah,
I am
me too.
absolutely the person that you do not want to ask about a computer problem.
Well, there's content experts and there's IT experts.
But you know what I did, but
absolutely.
I know how important it is. And so but when I became presiding commissioner, the first thing I did was make sure that all our meetings were on YouTube live.
Yes.
And then you can go back after it's live and watch it 24 hours a day.
Right.
So I've got we got 88,000 people in Christian County. I got a lot of people. I don't have all 88,000 yet, but we
Right.
have a lot of people that actually watch our meetings,
Yes.
planning, zoning meetings. Sometimes they're pretty boring, but sometimes they're just lots of activity going on, people
Yeah.
not agreeing and things like. And so we have anything that we're involved in, we have now live and on YouTube.
Fantastic.
And I think it is good transparency to allow people, and it's so easy to allow lots of people to see the show.
Well, and the great thing is when you have guests on like what we do, they're disinterested third parties from this standpoint. Everyone knows, well, that guy's just saying that because he's trying to sell me something. I heard his commercial. I saw him on TV. Well, yeah, we're in business. We want to help, and that's how we get paid. But the guests on my show don't get paid from it. You have people
Right.
that are just PhDs in economics or a CPA like Ed. Their whole mission is teaching people the truth about what they need to know to protect themselves from retirement or from taxes or from whatever. So it's
the
great.
government.
Or the government. We talk a lot about that,
Yeah.
a lot. So that's why it's great to have people on there who aren't trying to sell you something. They're not trying to get you as a client. They just want to educate.
Yeah.
And with a degree in education, I'm passionate about that. I
Yeah.
love to educate people.
Well, talk about Ed Slott. You mentioned him 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
I want people to know this is Brad Pistole and his family and Lisa. I want to brag about Lisa real quick. So this is a type of person. This is the reason why I love your company. Same way with our other sponsor that we're going to talk about after a while. If you had the right person to answer the phone, then you have already been successful.
Yeah.
And Lisa, that works for you, and she also is a licensed. She's licensed and can help people, and she has helped me with questions. But when she answers the phone, you can just tell that she's smiling and happy. I can't see her,
Yeah.
but I hear that smile. I hear the genuine interest in what I'm asking. And so she is so good. And so is Susan at Springfield Nissan, Springfield Kia. There's a lady named Susan. I don't know her last name, but she always answers the phone. And she gets you to the right person and in a right way. And she's so good because not always everybody that answers the phone correctly.
Right.
And you can already tell they're not interested in your conversation.
Yeah, that's when it's a service. It's not just a business. It's a ministry.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is.
So I really appreciate that. But one of the things that you did, and I know you'll do it again someday, was either Ed or somebody else. Jan and I went to a full house
Yes.
one night. I can't remember where it was in Springfield.
It was in Bass Pro, one of Bass Pro's meeting rooms. the White River
yeah,
room.
one of the big rooms, and Ed Slott was there. He's a CPA, so and he's written books about financial plannings too, and he's one of your mentors.
Yes.
And I'm sure you've taught him something too.
Yeah.
and so he did a great, and not what I would call a conventional talk about retirement planning. I thought it was very interesting what he said that night. And I looked around because I'm a client. I'm also looking around wondering who all these other people are.
Yeah.
Some are younger than me, several. There was some that were older than me, and I'm just looking around trying to figure out, well, who's a client, who's not a client? What do they think about this Ed Slott? What do they think about this Brad Pistole? What do they think, you know? But that was a great full house, and I think it was very beneficial.
Well, you know, Ed is the person that if anything changes regarding IRS tax code, they're going to call him. National news media, CNBC, whoever. That's who they're going to interview. He's America's IRA expert.
Yeah.
CPA in the hardest tax state there is, New York. That's where he
Oh,
lives.
yeah.
So either New York or California. I mean, that's where the taxes are the most difficult. So
Right.
he is the guru they're going to go to. And so that's why I sit and train at his feet, because when it comes to IRAs, 401ks, TSPs, that's where all of our money is saved, is in these tax-deferred plans. And I wanted to know the person who knew before anyone else knew what the changes were going to be, and he corrects Congress. I mean, this in our meetings, he'll say, hey, this came out a week ago, but we've already let Congress know they're wrong about this, and they're changing it, making an edit to it, and you're going to be the first ones to know. So everyone knows who Ed is.
Yeah.
He's been on TV, on PBS. He's had 5 different shows over the years.
Yeah.
And so I was just blessed to have him write the foreword to my last book. And
Yeah.
I just work closely with him, and I train under him. So
Well, he's a neat man.
He's a good guy.
He got lots of energy.
Yeah.
He was very entertaining with his talk and things like that. So great thing. Well, the next thing I want to talk about is we do see interest rates going up. Yeah, at the banks, CD rates are going up.
Right.
Savings account rates are going up. They're still too low. I mean, and if you're going to try to borrow money, interest rates are higher. And but you need to try to make money off your money. And so that's why when you start watching the trend of CDs going up and things like that, it also affects annuities, right?
It does.
And
affects
that's
everything.
Yeah. And so I think there was a terminology that you actually used about annuities, about
refinancing.
Yeah,
Refinancing
people
your annuity.
refinance a home.
Yes.
And so sometimes if the interest rates go down low, you want to refinance your home loan.
Yes.
Yeah, I
So-
bought the same house 3 times.
Yeah. See,
Right.
so you got it.
We did.
You got the theory, but people, I never thought about it. I've got some great annuities with Brad, but and I'm making money, and it's good. I didn't have to worry about the stock market when I owned a bunch of stock. I was always watching every day.
Yeah.
I was watching every day,
But
sometimes
that
several
is
times.
so consuming.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I like to talk about content experts because to know your own business
Yeah.
takes a lot of time, and sometimes you just have to find the right person who knows their content to help you because
Right.
it's too much.
Well, I'll
Right.
tell you, this year has almost killed me. I used to have a few dark hairs in here. I don't anymore. All my hair's gone. And I'll tell you, it's in a good way, but you know this because you've experienced this as a client. You and I both own annuities. I own 7. Well, I own 2 new ones. And I'm like, why are you on 2 new ones? Well, I refinanced to replace 2 of my old ones, and here's why. Back in 2021, annuities were great. They still paid more than the bank. They had higher interest rates, but compared to 2024, a 2020 or a 2021 annuity has terrible interest rates in it now because what was 2%, which was good when the bank was at 1, well, now everything's at 5 and 6. And I've had annuities, Lynn, this year. I looked at one yesterday. The client made 16.86% from 1 year ago to this year in a conservative account. That's moderately conservative. They can't lose any money. But something from 2020, 2021, they can't do that. They're in old rates. So it was good then. It's like buying a car. You buy a car and you love it when it's a new car, it's no miles, and it's great, and it's the best thing out there. And 3 years later, guess what? They've come out with all these bells and whistles and all this, and you feel like you've got a piece of junk now. It's 3 years dated. So on an annuity, you can do what's called a 1035 exchange when it's been enforced for 3 years, and you can say, hey, let's reshop, like refinancing my house. Maybe your interest rates are better. And so now when someone does a 1035, which I've been doing for all of our clients as quickly as I can, moving them into something better, it increases your cash value on day one. Some interest rates have gone from 2 to 8, 4 times the amount of interest inside. I looked at one yesterday, and their total possible return was 8.6%. Their new one is 28.2, using the type of cap that's in it. It's called an S&P monthly point to point. So you don't want them stuck in something that can only make 8 when they could make potentially 28.
Right.
So it's just us getting as many through as we can, re-meeting with not just new clients, but as a fiduciary doing what's best in the interest of your existing client, saying, if we can do better, we will.
Yeah.
So it has kept me busy this year.
So you are doing exactly what you just said. So I want the people out there to know, if you want somebody that's going to represent you and your money and tell you what you need to do with your money, somebody like Brad Pistole is the guy. Because I remember one day that we got a phone call. Jant and I got a phone call from Brad Pistole, and he wanted to talk to us about one of my annuities. And so I thought, well, I'm happy with my annuity.
Right.
And I'm making money with my annuity. I'm not losing a penny. I know when the stock market was going down and people were really worried, I didn't have to worry because my annuity was being constant. I was making money. But now I see the light. I see the light because we transferred an annuity to another annuity, And then I looked at my total, and I have more money to start off with again than I had to begin with the old annuity.
And
So
now
I
a
made
whole lot more
money.
room to make
That's
money.
encouraging.
And more room to make more money.
Yeah.
And the reason why you want to make more money out there when you have retirement planning is you will start taking a minimum distribution. The federal government requires that. And so like one of mine, I take 21,000, I think, out every year. That's required by the government at the end of the year. Well, so if you take 21,000 out for 10 years, you've taken out $200,000 plus. But with plans that he has that actually is making you money, it also helps replenish the money that you're taking out. So that's why I really believe the truth is that if you get the right plans with somebody like Brad Pistole, Trinity Insurance and Financial Services, you will run out of life before you run out of money. And that's probably the biggest worry for seniors is, what do I do if I run out of money? Who's going to help me? Is
No one
my
wants to be
kids
a
going to
burden on
help
their
me?
children.
Is the government going to help me? No, they're not going to help you.
Which brings us to the next
Yeah,
interesting
yeah.
thought. Okay.
Yeah.
You recently obtained a new financial designation. You're
Mm-hmm.
called an income-related monthly adjustment amount certified planner. That's a mouthful.
Isn't it?
It is, but it kind of gets to what we're talking about in terms of not running out of money.
Yes.
And being able to be flexible. That's what adjustment means. So can you tell us a little bit more about what it means to be an IRMAA?
Yes, so I'll tell you, this is the new hot topic. It's one of these kind of things where a lot of people that have turned 65, have hit Medicare, have said, why didn't anyone ever tell me about this? Why has my planner never talked to me about this? Because they'll get hit with a tax, the IRMA tax, and no one told them about it. And so, because a lot of people as planners, financial planners, they're investment people. They hang their hat on how much money I can make you. But they don't want to talk about taxes. They don't want to talk about all that. You go talk to your CPA about that. We're holistic. We do all of that. And so IRMA, and I actually brought a chart with me today so that you guys can see this. No, I'm not making it up. IRMA, Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amounts, is a surcharge, which is a tax, on your Medicare Part B premium, and everyone's going to pay it. The thing is that when you enter Medicare at age 65, your Part B premium is $174.70 a month. They just automatically deduct that from your Social Security check. But what people don't know is that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different levels. And Doc, if you will, the lowest level is $174.70, but how high does it go to?
$559.
$559 a
Per
month,
month.
is what it could be if you hit the highest level of IRMA. And so how does IRMA work? Well, an income-related monthly adjustment amount says the federal government, which we say we talk about the government here, they're watching every single penny you make when you're retired. This starts at age 63. So from age 63 all the way to the end of your life, your modified adjusted gross income, your MAGI, for you and your spouse or just you, they're looking at what your total MAGI is at 63. That's going to determine your first Medicare premium at 65, 2 years later. What you do at 64 affects 66. What you do at 65 affects 67. So for the rest of your life. So here's where it's important. What this has broken down is, you can see here, of course, it's if you make less than $206,000 total from all sources, you're just going to be the normal premium. But if you go over that, and it's only about $50,000 per category, you keep stepping up. You jump to $244 a month, then $349 a month, then $454 a month. That's automatically deducted from your Social Security check.
Wow.
So if someone sells a home that wasn't their primary home, it was a second home, and they made $100,000 off that, guess what? That's added into this equation. If you had a $200,000 IRA and you determine, well, hey, we need a new truck this year. I'm going to pull $50,000 out and go buy a truck. That's going to affect your IRMA. We call it Aunt Irma, and we say you don't want to tick off Aunt Irma.
Aunt Irma.
You tick off Aunt Irma, IRMAA. So a guest on our show, Heather Schreiber, she's the national Social Security expert from Atlanta, Georgia. She says it's Aunt Irma. And Aunt Irma is someone you don't want to make mad. You make her mad, she's going to come in and take more of your Social Security check.
Well, that's
Wow.
interesting because
So-
after a certain age, they say you can make as much money as you want.
That is regarding, that's correct, is regarding having a job and it not affecting Social Security, them taking $1 for every $2 and that's an earnings test. But IRMA is completely different. So people don't realize when they retire, they're going to have federal income tax, they're going to have state income tax, they're going to have tax on their Social Security distribution, they're going to have IRMA taxes, income related monthly adjustment amount. So, and probably you never heard of this.
I bet you 100% of the people watching this show, we got people all over the country watching this show, and I bet you that I didn't know that.
They won't know until they hit it. And they'll have a qualifying event where they've sold something or they took too much out. And then Medicare lets them know, hey, by the way, your premium is going up. And they're like, hey, my Social Security check went down. Yeah. Well, it only does that for 1 year, but it does do it for the entire year. And get this, Lynn, this will get your attention regarding the government. If you have too big of an event and it takes, let's say your Social Security check was only $500 a month, and you fall into the top category that's $559 a month, it not only takes all of your Social Security check, you have to write them a check for $59 a month. You got to write them a check
a month? Right. Oh my gosh!
So it can reduce up to 100% of your Social Security check, and you still pay. So we're just saying you want to watch all sources of income when you're retired because the government's watching it. They're watching where every single taxable penny comes from.
Well, I'm not sure which congressman or senator that is responsible for that,
right?
But that's not a good one.
It's not.
Not a good one for seniors and retirees, and because honestly, I think the seniors and retirees need as much help as they can. Everybody does. Even my kids in their 40s right now with the inflation that we're seeing at the grocery store, at the gas pump, everything else, everything is so expensive. I think everyone's hurting, but that's a new one on me.
It's the new topic, and I'll tell you this, just to throw this out there. So it's such a big deal. I went through the school and got the certification. They have in Nebraska, I believe it is, coming up here in September. It has sold out for financial planners to get this designation. It's a 3-day course because people are realizing this is a big deal. They're estimating inflation on the IRMA is about 10% per year what these premiums are going to continue going up.
What does that mean, monthly adjustment?
So they're looking at the monthly adjustment amount is what you're paying monthly every month, the $174.70. And so it's income related, and this is the monthly adjustment amount that you're having to pay based on your income. And so if you cross that threshold, and it's a cliff, like with our taxes, if you're in a 12% bracket and you make a few dollars too much, you only pay a provisional over into the next bracket. With IRMA, it's a cliff. If you go 1 penny over, you're into the next category and you're paying that next premium. So you've really got to work with someone who's looking at all your taxable income in retirement saying, like, Lynn, if you called me and said, well...
And you're not waiting for the annual tax returns.
Right.
That's what that means.
Yes. Yeah. So if you're sitting, if you said, hey, we need to buy a new car, where should we take it from? This has a lot to do with it. If it's sitting in a Roth and you took it out, it won't affect your IRMA. That's tax-free. If it's sitting in a cash account, it wouldn't affect it. If it's sitting in an IRA or a tax-deferred account, it's absolutely going to affect it. So you need to pay attention to how you're spending your money.
Well, that is a valuable nugget of information.
Amen.
And
it's
so
a lot.
That kind of leads me to the next topic that you and I talked about, and that's you've got new software. Your company has new software.
Yes.
I guess everybody has to invest in new software from time to time, but you got to have new software for all these new programs that you got to keep up with. I mean, things don't just stay the same, do they?
They don't. It changes every day.
Yeah.
So we've got two good friends, and I trained under Dr. Wade Pfau. That's P-F-A-U, and if you Google him, he's got 4 best-selling books on Amazon. He's all over the country. He's the professor from the American College that created the Retirement Income Certified Professional program, and he's a nationally sought-after speaker, but he and a good buddy of his, he has his doctorate in economics. His buddy has his doctorate in psychology. So it's why we do what we do with our money, and together they created something called the RISA, R-I-S-A, and that stands for Retirement Income Style Awareness. And you've got Fortune 500 companies that are using this. You've got mega, multi-$100 billion insurance companies using it. And what the RISA does, you give it to a client, and a client takes it. It takes them about 15 to 20 minutes.
Questionnaire.
It's a questionnaire online. You fill out your profile, and the neat thing is, it's when you just take the questions, it's going to put you into one of 4 quadrants. And it helps the planner understand what your risk tolerance is: aggressive, conservative, income related. Maybe you want to pass things on to your heirs, but that's very cool that two people with their doctorates created it. They charge for it, but we pay for it for our clients. So if you want to take the RISA, a really nice 14-page report comes with it explaining what category you fell into and why, and we pay for it for our clients to take it. So if anyone ever wants to take it, they can call us and we'll send them a link to take it free.
Well, that's very good. Let's take it. We're going to pause just for a minute because I'm going to talk about our other sponsor. You're hearing Brad Pistole, and he's been our sponsor for a long time. And all this valuable information you're hearing today, we're going to real quickly find out how to contact him all the time and stuff like that. But our other sponsor that I want to make sure that we mention, he'll be on our show live in September, and that is John Whittaker. John Whittaker owns Springfield Nissan, Springfield Kia. Used to be called Youngblood Motor Group. And my last two cars have been by those guys. I bought the cars from them. I'll continue to buy because I deal with my sponsors. I wouldn't recommend my sponsor to anyone unless I knew how the business relationship was going to be taken care of. So he has new Nissans, new Kias at 3525 South Campbell in Springfield, Missouri. People from all over the country buy cars from him. The reason why is he's been in business over 45 years. That's a long time. I made it 43 plus years in my pharmacy business. That's a long time, but 45 beats me and starts beating a bunch of businesses around the area. He has new cars on one side of South Campbell. He has used cars on the other side of South Campbell, right across from each other. And the interesting thing is the used cars, he sells mostly cars that are certified. Certified means that those cars have gone through, I believe that for them it's over 110 inspection points, and that means that when you buy the car, it's going to cost a little bit more than a normal used car, but when you go down the road, you're going to have a lot more insurance in peace of mind as far as knowing that the car is going to last a long time before you go back. I know friends that have bought cars, used cars, and in less than 30 days, they've got it back in the shop and they're spending hundreds of dollars on a used car. That just happens. And that's not what you want with the way cars are so expensive today. New cars are extremely expensive. Used cars are expensive. And so I really like the fact that he has certified cars. And then, of course, he has his guarantee. You know, you can actually buy a car. These two people across from me, and actually Dennis, our producer today, he can buy a car. I can't buy a car online. That would require a computer. But you can buy a car online. They'll deliver it to your house. You put your wife in the front seat, put the dog in the back, put the kids in the back seat, and then put the dog in the trunk area, the area of an SUV or whatever. And you got plenty of room. You can drive that car for 48 hours. You can take it someplace, decide that whether you want to buy the car or not buy the car. If you don't like the car, they'll bring you another car. So they're extremely easy to deal with, and I just love the service they give and stuff like that. So I highly recommend Springfield Nissan, Springfield Kia. And their phone number is 417-882-3838, 882-3838. And Susan's going to answer the phone, and she's going to take care of you. Okay, so we've got a couple of questions.
We've got that information, the contact information for Brad and for Springfield Kia, running across the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
So if you didn't catch it while
Right.
Lynn was talking, grab your pencil and paper, and you'll see that information repeated for you.
Okay.
So, Brad, speaking of which,
Yes.
how can listeners get in touch with you if they want to take that retirement income style awareness questionnaire?
So it's very easy. They can always call us, 417-581-9222, or this is a long email address, but it's brad@guaranteedsafemoney.com.
Okay.
And our website is www.guaranteedsafemoney.com. guaranteedsafemoney.com. So if you go to the website, all of my interviews and articles, national articles I've written, Wall Street Journal, USA Today, they're all there. You can go read all of our information, and our contact information's in there. You can actually click a little Meet with Brad button, and it will automatically populate an email to me. Just stick your information in there. So lots of different ways to get in touch with
Is
me.
that the same contact information if they just want to talk to you and get consultation?
Yes, they can call and say, hey, I want to take the RISA. I want to read a free copy of his book. I want to set up a free consultation. Any of that, they can get in touch with us that same way.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll
And
tell
knowing
you-
you're a hometown guy, this is
Yeah.
a fabulous news.
It's neat. You know, I started off, I've lived here for 16 years now, but because of YouTube and because of the internet, now I'm licensed in like 16 states. So I started off Monday morning with 2 calls from New York, 1 from New Jersey, 1 from Atlanta, Georgia, 1 from Texas, 1 from Illinois, and 1 from Missouri. I had more calls from all over the place, and that's because they're watching the interviews and then calling us. And so
Yeah.
it keeps me busy.
So I want to let people know, because I think this is important. So I've updated my information now, because I knew you were licensed in several states, but I didn't know it was 16. So you're increasing the number of states that you can actually do business in. But there's still states that aren't. But the
Right.
good news is, for everyone watching today or watching later on, the good news is Brad Pistole knows someone just like him in those states that he's not licensed in.
Right.
And you can still call him, and he can give you a very reliable person that is very skilled, that will know exactly what Brad knows in those states, and you'll still get that same type of help. I think that's important, because there's not everybody that you can call in one state that's going to be able to help you in another state, like in Kentucky
Right.
or Hawaii or someplace like that. Right. And so I think that's important to know. But you've been doing your radio show for over 15 years.
15
That's a
years.
long time. I did my talk show for 7.5 years.
Yeah.
We've been over 4 years on this show now. And so God's been good, and we're still growing every show, and every month we're growing. Elon Musk has found our show. He likes our show. He's helping our show. He's staying in contact with Jim Whining, our CEO, so that's really good. There's other people that's been watching our show. Ellen DeGeneres. She's not probably one of the people that I would probably run around with and have dinner with. No offense to her, but we're just different, okay?
Yeah.
And that's good that people are different. But she likes our show.
Yeah.
And she tells all her friends, which, like I say, is probably not my group of friends, but she's telling people about our show. And so we're beginning to get some people like that watching our show, and they need to hear our show.
Yes.
Because we do talk about God and the importance of Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. And if you don't get that in this time, and I know all 3 of us and Dennis, the 4 of us are very strong Christians, and we know what's going on.
And we don't
But-
compartmentalize our lives. You
No.
don't have a business life and a Christian
Right,
life.
right.
Your faithfulness to Jesus Christ has to permeate all areas of your life. And so honesty and integrity are paramount.
People always ask when they walk in the door, they'll come back and they'll be in the first meeting and say, I just got to ask, why'd you name your business Trinity? And I said, I'll tell you the truth. If you didn't know my background, my history, I didn't know anything about money when I was a pastor. I mean, I lived paycheck to paycheck. My father knew all of it.
Uh-huh.
He's the one that created the retirement plan for our church because he was an elder where I worked. And then my first ever rollover that I bought an annuity with came from my church 403B. But I tell people, I say, I made a deal with God. You know, you're not supposed to do that, but I did. I said, here's the deal. I don't know anything about what I'm about to do, but I feel like you're leading me in this direction. So I'm going to name my business Trinity. I'm going to tell people exactly what it stands for, and I need your help 100% of the way to meet the right people, to have the right connections, and I will always give credit to you for everything that happens in my life. And he blew my whole world up with all that. He did.
And
And what's
Yeah.
interesting
Yeah.
is that
I'm not gonna mess it up.
He's
He's
not
done it.
fussy about whether your age, right?
Right.
he can have you change careers right there in midstream. And,
The average person changes their full-time career 3 times before the age of 40, and I was 36. And he's like, okay, here we go. And you mentioned earlier, truly, it is just a different form of ministry. you're helping people with some of the most important things in their life. They're in marriage counseling, which I did a lot of in my life. There are 3 things that you talked about with every couple. All the time, it was the same 3 topics, and guess what? One of those is money.
Finance.
Right.
It's
That's right.
finance, and so
Right.
it's
Right.
it's just been good to have my background help in something that's just a different version of what I was already doing.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
Hey guys, we're about going to run out of time, but Don Blackard, original co-host, good friend of mine, is going to Mayo Clinic here in about 4 or 5 days for about 5 days of testing and things like that. She's had a brain bleed and still not quite where she needs to be. And so pray for her. All the people that know her, pray. So that'll be important. That we hope that she comes back and they find the answers that she can have a normal life again.
Yeah.
I believe in prayer so much.
Amen.
I had so many prayers when I lost my foot and leg. And one of the things that God's already gave me an assignment of, and I think I did okay on my first assignment, while I was in rehab for 10 days, learned how to operate with one foot. Not very easy. And one of the guys, the PT guys, he told me, he said, hey, you got such a great attitude. He said, I've been doing this for a long time, and you've got one of the best attitudes that I've ever seen. He said, you get in there and pay attention, and you get it done. He said, but I've got 2 clients that, he said, one's in his 40s, one is in his 20s, and they've lost their leg, but they're not paying attention. They have a very bad attitude, and they're not going to be successful like you. Could you talk to them? And so I said, well, I think I saw one of them one day. You know, the gyms, they got 2 gyms at Mercy Rehab, and they were just busy. Okay, OTs and PTs helping people one-on-one all day long, and you just need to pay attention yourself. But every once in a while you look up, and I saw a man that I thought didn't look very happy one day, and I think that's why. And so I ended up having an appointment with those 2 gentlemen, one young, one older, both of them way younger than me, and I just sat down by them, and in 30 minutes, both of them, I got them somehow through God that they are going to try harder. The very next day, the gentleman from West Plains, where I was born, the PT gentleman said, hey, Lynn, I don't know what you did, but we haven't been able to get it done.
Yeah.
And he said, I think now they're going to be successful because the difference is like night and day since you talked to them. Well, I just did it through God.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So I guess that's one of my new assignments, Mary. Mary is I'll have a prosthesis leg, and I'm now supposed to help other people get through that.
Fantastic.
And we can do that. But hey, you are a difference maker. You're being the change. We appreciate you so much for everything that you do, and your son Hunter and Lisa and the entire gang. So Jan and I appreciate it. I know that other family members appreciate it. Just keep doing the great work, for the Lord is helping other people, and finances are so important. Retirement planning is so important. I would just encourage people, reach out to Brad Pistole, 417-581-9222, 417-581-9222, and they will help you. And if you're in another state, then he's going to help you too. Mm-hmm. So, and you need to get those books, and they'll help you with the books. They'll help you with free consultation. You need to start now, and they'll lead you the whole way, and it's a very, very good deal. So we appreciate you being on our show today. I know you're real busy, and Mary and I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Mary,
who
do we have on
continued
next
support.
week?
Next week is Bridget Bittinger. She's the member
Bridget.
of the school board for NICSA.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we have a school board member from Nixa, Missouri. Nixa High School is the largest high school in Christian County by attendance, and great school. That's where all my grandkids have either gone, that's already graduated, or still there. So a very good school system. And we're going to talk about school board members and what they're up against and why it is so important. Folks all over this country, you could be a school board member too. If you don't like what's going on in your school district, you could be a school board
right.
member. You could
You
do
could be a
something
difference maker.
You could be a difference maker, because believe me, there are problems in our public school system today, and it's still what we have that we have to cling to is that public school system. Not everybody can go to a private school. Not everyone can go to a Christian school. But we have a lot of people that depend on that public school. And we have a lot of great teachers and we have great school board members in some of those. And so we're going to be talking to Bridget. Okay?
And how she was called to run.
Yeah, why she was called to run, which is great for changing times, okay?
Yeah.
So anyway, we will be back next Wednesday, same time, 9 a.m., and we'll see you then. Everyone have a great rest of the week. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.